New Orleans Saints quarterback Drew Brees apologized on Thursday for saying that kneeling during the national anthem was disrespectful to the military. So, look, I'm going to give you what he said, or at least some of what he said. It's actually a really long post that he put on Instagram. I'll urge you guys, of course, to check it out to see whether or not you agree and you think this apology is good enough. Because I can't tell you that it's good enough. All I can do is give you my perspective. And so he does this. And of course, the reaction from Trump world is outrage. Because, of course. Now, he said that respecting the national anthem is not just about showing respect to the military, but also to anybody who sacrificed for the country, including those in the civil rights movement. He says, I think what you do by standing there and showing respect to the flag with your hand over your heart, it shows unity. It shows that we're all in this together, we can all do better, and that we're all part of the solution. It's also like North Korea. Let's be honest about that, right? So wait, you're going to get bent out of shape for somebody who decides that they don't want to, stand for the national anthem, right? Now, we're in America. We should have the freedom to be able to do that, right? We shouldn't be compelled by the government. We should be compelled by love for our country, right? And so there are some people, of course, that don't stand for the national anthem, that do love the country, but acknowledge that there are certain issues with the country that make it so that it doesn't really stand up to the ideal that it should, right? That it's professed to do so, right? Land of the free, home of the brave, right? And so, we have an issue with incarceration. So we definitely, and a police state. So we can't really say that we're home of the free, right? Or land of the free. And so those are significant issues, especially within the context of the recent protests against said police state. Not only that, but you also have things like domestic spying programs, the warrantless wiretapping. You've got the Patriot Act. You've got all this stuff, right? And all these violations, mini violations of our civil liberties going on in this country. And so policing is part of that, right? And so this is the problem. This is a problem. And so if you don't want to stand for the anthem because you have those issues, well, that's your right as an American. You should be able to do that without it getting conflated with whether or not you, quote unquote, support the troops, right? And by the way, I think a lot of us support the troops. What we don't support is sending them off to BS wars in order to extract resources for multinational corporations, right? We don't support the bombings of countries like Yemen and selling weapons to Saudi Arabia and doing all these, extrajudicial killings like they're doing with the drone program. They did under Obama and Bush, and now massively under Donald Trump. And we don't support that stuff. We support the soldiers that are getting sent over there, who come back often in pieces with, some PTSD and other things. And by the way, a lot of the people that are like, support the troops, or else you're not an American, the same people that won't fund veterans' health care. And so there's some significant issues here. But it gets, the argument gets, I guess, oversimplified on purpose by the right wing to say that if you have any issue with America and what we're doing right now, well, then you hate America. And so that's ridiculous, right? And I think that's what this argument from Drew Brees was, right? Well, obviously, if you're not if you're kneeling for the flag, if you're not taking part in the national anthem, then you're being un-American, and that's just absolutely ridiculous, right? So now, shortly after this interview was posted, he got called out by LeBron James. So now LeBron, he says, quote, "You literally still don't understand why Cap was kneeling on one knee. Has absolutely nothing to do with the disrespect of the flag and our soldiers." Yeah, look, and here's why they do that. Here's why they tie it to the the soldiers and the flag, right? It's a tactic used to delegitimize the protests. You tie it in with the military, which has absolutely nothing to do with this, right? But understand that they do this on purpose because to them, there is no legitimate way to protest. There is no right way to protest. They don't believe that there's even a problem that you should be out there protesting. And it's because these are people that have benefited and continue to benefit from the status quo. So to them, any protest is illegitimate, and they know how to do the messaging to push people's buttons, to craft a narrative that suits them against people that are doing nonviolent protest, right? And so, look, let me even show you, because Colin Kaepernick did this protest. All he did was silently take a knee, right? Didn't do anything like make a spectacle or anything like that. And it really wasn't even a big deal until the right wing blew it up. And I'm going to show you what they said about him while he was doing this protest.
You did own a professional football team. What would you do with Colin Kaepernick?
I don't think I'm going to tell you what I do.
You don't stand up in the middle of our workplace and start creating chaos because we get fired.
But they're not creating chaos.
That's chaos.
So why is this a big deal? Why is it, in the end, dangerous for this country?
These acts of protest are beyond disrespectful.
He's trying to make a point, but I don't think he's making it the correct way. I think what he's doing is very bad for the spirit of the country.
Just because something is legal doesn't mean you ought to do it.
Colin Kaepernick gives money to terrorists.
Using the excuse of Black Lives Matter or some other issue that they probably haven't even read up on. They just repeat whatever Colin Kaepernick says on any given day.
So look at the people he's donated money to. These are radicals in many cases, very anti-American, ethnocentrically racist black organizations, and again, built on a lie.
It is a myth that police are brutalizing black people at some epidemic rate.
He acts like he's standing up for Black Lives Matter. There was one, I don't know, I've never been able to confirm this. I looked earlier today that he might have converted to Islam in the offseason.
So what are these protests really about? Well, some players claim their core complaint is police brutality, in which case, fine, protest that. Learn the facts, make your case, propose solutions, run for office, try to make the country better. But no, that's too hard. It's easier to follow the demagogues and attack America itself.
Yeah, so look, that's Fox News talking about how illegitimate Colin Kaepernick's protest is. So now we go to the protest of today. So obviously that was too much, right? So now we get the protest of today, which did involve some violence, which did involve some looting and some burning of buildings. And now you got the same people who blasted Kaepernick going back and saying, if they had just protested peacefully, we would have actually paid attention to them, except that when we had a peaceful protest, you crapped on them. And that's what that is, right? Again, understand that there is no legitimate way to protest for these people. So now, that said, Brees, he got called out, and so he issued this apology on his Instagram. He said, in an attempt to talk about respect, unity, and solidarity centered around the American flag and the national anthem, I made comments that were insensitive and completely missed the mark on issues we are facing right now as a country. They lacked awareness and any type of compassion or empathy. And of course, it goes on saying, I've always been I've always been an ally of African Americans and the right to equality, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Again, you'll have to read that to see if this is a good enough apology. Which there are a lot of people that are saying no, it's not a good apology. It's not good enough, especially many of his. It really got a mixed reaction, right? So again, there are people that are other sports stars that are saying no, he still doesn't get it even after this apology. He doesn't understand the issue. And I can understand why, because this person is disconnected from these issues. He's never had to deal with that kind of racism. Or any kind of racism, really. And so, again, that's read it. It's up to you to decide whether or not you think it's good enough. But he also said, it breaks my heart to know the pain that I have caused. So now, following that apology, Trump fans went nuts. In fact, one person with the handle, and I love this, Antifa is the enemy. So wait, if Antifa is your enemy, right, the anti-fascists, right, that are the enemy, then doesn't that make you pro-fascist? Look, Antifa is not an organization. It's it's really like a way of life. You know, it's a way of life, being against fascism. And so you might want to check that. But he says, or she, weak dude, bullied into submission. You know what's funny is that these are the people with the guns and the cops on their side, most of them anyway. And yet all of us unarmed soy drinking leftists are able to bully those people into submission. Weird. Well, then why do you need that arsenal to begin with then? If it's much easier to bully someone unarmed and to get your way unarmed, well, then why do you need your guns? I'm not saying this is against guns. No, I'm saying this. Maybe you're just so incredibly weak, even with your stockpile, that maybe you need to look at that and understand why you're so incredibly weak. Anyway, another one says, do not bow down to them. I stand with Drew Brees, except that Drew Brees just backed down. Another person adds, and there it is. He caved to the mob. They'll never forgive him regardless of how he's backed down. But now he's backed down from his position. He did the one thing you should never do to leftists, apologize. Now, look, that's completely wrong. It completely mischaracterizes the left. Actually, we do appreciate good apologies. Ones that are actually based on, like if you actually apologize, if you actually feel bad and want to, and it's not about feeling bad, really. What it's about is opening your eyes and making a positive change, realizing that, oh yeah, I was wrong, and then doing something to show that that you understand why that's wrong. Just saying, well, sorry if you were offended. Well, no, that's ridiculous. That's not an apology at all. No, if for example Drew Brees decides the next time he's on the field, he's going to take a knee, right? And he's going to go, you know what? Solidarity. Then we'll believe him. Because, look, I believe as a progressive, people who are ignorant can still have their eyes open, right? As long as you're willing to do so. And if you're willing to change for the better and to become a better person, well, then we should welcome you as an ally, okay? Because honestly, a lot of us started out ourselves ignorant to a lot of what's going on, myself included, as a white guy who grew up in a very white area. I had no idea. I had complete ignorance of what was going on for the black community, and then I learned, and then guess what? I changed my opinion of things. That's what happens when you learn new information, and that's a good thing, but not according to these people. Okay? These people think, oh, no. Changing your opinion based on new facts is bad. We don't like new facts. We're going to disregard them, right? And so another one says, you shouldn't have to apologize. It's your right to speak what you feel. Well, what if he feels differently? What then, right? Again, upon learning new information and changing your perspective, that's a good thing. You ever think that maybe his opinion had changed if he's actually sincere about his apology? I know it's crazy for some people to believe, but yes, you can actually change your position based on new facts and new information. Another says, you spoke with reason, nothing to apologize for. These people are outraged by nothing. Yeah, saying that anybody who takes a knee is un-American, essentially, oh, they're going to outrage about nothing. No, in reality, we love America and we want America to be better. Another one says, never been to the mob. It's funny, a mob calling the other people a mob. And another one says, how disappointing that a good man can express an extremely non-controversial opinion without having to apologize for it. He caved, and that's too bad. Non-controversial opinion. What? All right. Look, it's amazing. We live in two different realities. They see that somebody possibly admitting a mistake, and whether or not he's, actually like sorry for this and whatever, like that's kind of up to him really to express if he's actually changed his opinion and his mind, or is just doing this for PR reasons. I don't necessarily know. I don't see into his mind, right? But they see that admitting a mistake as a cave, whereas, of course, we see it as being exposed to the reality of what the protest really stands for. It's never been against the flag. It's never been against the military. It's always been against police brutality against African Americans. And I want to stress the Americans part, because they are our fellow citizens. They are our brothers and sisters that are out there getting treated incredibly badly by our police and by people in power. Again, Colin Kaepernick, when he came up with this protest, with taking a knee, he consulted with veterans to try to be as respectful as possible. It still wasn't enough. As you saw, they literally called him a terrorist. And so understand that for these people, there's no type of protest from black people that are going to make them happy. What they want is for black people to shut up, bow down, accept white supremacy in the status quo, as well as second-class citizenship. Because they believe that if black people are elevated and gain equality, they lose something. And that's just not true. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/TYTNation, set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know how I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent, progressive media.